Have you ever considered the seemingly impossible idea of a country simply ceasing to exist? Not just changing names or borders but completely vanishing from the map? Well, in 2025, this hypothetical became a reality for 10 nations. 10 places with their own unique histories, cultures, and people were wiped off the map, leaving millions in a state of limbo. We're going to delve into the hows and whys of these disappearances, exploring the political, social, and economic factors that led to their demise. Buckle up because we're about to embark on a wild ride through the annals of recent history. Stay tuned to find out which countries vanished and why. Let's rewind the clock back to the 1990s. Remember the Bosnian War? The siege of Sarajevo? These events were just the tip of the iceberg when it came to the tumultuous history of Yugoslavia. This socialist federation, once united under Josip Broz Tito, had been simmering with ethnic and religious tensions for decades. Fast forward to 2025. A series of rapid political maneuvers and backroom deals resulted in the official dissolution of what remained of Yugoslavia. Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Kosovo, North Macedonia, and Slovenia, all once part of this federation, reasserted their independence with renewed vigor. The speed at which it happened shocked the world. One day, Yugoslavia was there. The next, it was gone, wiped from the map almost overnight. The dissolution, while largely bloodless, wasn't without its problems. Border disputes, refugee crises, and the re-emergence of old hatreds threatened to destabilize the region. Remember the Velvet Revolution? The peaceful split of Czechoslovakia into the Czech Republic and Slovakia in 1993 was hailed as a model for peaceful dissolution. For over 2 decades, the two nations coexisted peacefully, each forging their own paths. However, beneath the surface, a sense of unease was brewing. Economic disparities and a resurgence of nationalist sentiments began to strain the once amicable relationship. In 2025, amidst a wave of global instability, these simmering tensions boiled over. A series of public demonstrations and political maneuvers culminated in a referendum that saw an overwhelming majority in both countries vote for a complete separation. The world watched in disbelief as the Velvet Divorce, once a symbol of peaceful separation, unraveled. The dissolution was swift and decisive, with both nations eager to assert their newfound independence. The reseparation of Czechoslovakia serves as a cautionary tale, demonstrating that even the most amicable of splits can unravel under the pressure of political and economic realities. My grandmother used to tell me stories about growing up in East Germany. She described a life lived under constant surveillance, where freedom was a luxury few could afford. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 was a momentous occasion, signifying the end of the Cold War and the reunification of Germany. For a brief moment, it seemed like the world was on the cusp of a new era of peace and cooperation. But the scars of division ran deep. Despite efforts to integrate East Germany into a unified German state, economic disparities and a lingering sense of cultural otherness persisted. In 2025, a movement for East German independence gained traction. What started as fringe sentiment quickly morphed into a powerful political force, culminating in a referendum that saw a majority of East Germans vote to secede. The world watched in astonishment as the Berlin Wall, once a symbol of oppression, was rebuilt, this time by the very people it once imprisoned. The reunification of Germany, once hailed as a triumph of democracy, lay in tatters. The Ottoman Empire, a vast and powerful realm that once spanned from southeastern Europe to the Arabian Peninsula, met its official end in 1922. Or so we thought. In a surprising turn of events in 2025, the Republic of Turkey officially renounced all claims to its Ottoman heritage, effectively erasing the empire from its historical narrative. This move sent shockwaves through the international community. Historians and scholars were aghast, arguing that such an act amounted to historical revisionism of the highest order. Neighboring countries, particularly those with territories that were once part of the Ottoman Empire, watched with a mixture of apprehension and suspicion. The Turkish government argued that the Ottoman Empire was a relic of the past, a bygone era that had no place in the modern secular Turkish Republic. This move, they claimed, was about forging a new, forward-looking identity for Turkey. The Ottoman Empire, once a major power that shaped the course of history for centuries, was effectively erased from the map, at least in the official narrative of its successor state. Nestled high in the Himalayas, Tibet has long held a mystical allure for outsiders, a land of ancient wisdom and spiritual enlightenment. However, for the Tibetan people, their homeland has been a place of struggle and resilience, particularly in the face of increasing pressure from its powerful neighbor China. Since China's annexation of Tibet in 1950, the Tibetan people have struggled to maintain their unique cultural identity. Despite decades of protest and international condemnation, China's grip on Tibet only tightened. In 2025, China announced the complete integration of Tibet into the People's Republic of China. Tibet as an autonomous region ceased to exist, its unique status erased with the stroke of a pen. This move was met with outrage from the international community, with many accusing China of cultural genocide. The story of Tibet is a stark reminder of the fragility of cultural identity in the face of powerful forces seeking assimilation. The Vietnam War, a brutal and protracted conflict that divided a nation and left scars that linger to this day, officially ended in 1975 with the fall of Saigon and the reunification of Vietnam under communist rule. The world breathed a collective sigh of relief as the fighting ceased, but the legacy of the war, and the ghost of South Vietnam, continued to haunt the region. In the decades that followed, Vietnam struggled to heal the wounds of war. The communist government, eager to unify the nation under its rule, implemented policies aimed at suppressing any remnants of South Vietnamese identity. However, the spirit of South Vietnam proved difficult to extinguish. In 2025, amidst a global economic downturn and growing dissatisfaction with the ruling Communist Party, a movement for the restoration of South Vietnam gained momentum. In a stunning turn of events, the Vietnamese government, weakened by internal strife and facing mounting international pressure, agreed to a peaceful separation. South Vietnam, once consigned to the dustbin of history, was reborn as a sovereign nation. Prussia, a kingdom synonymous with military might, met its official end in 1947, dissolved by the Allied powers after World War II. Its territories were divided among Germany, Poland, and the Soviet Union, its legacy seemingly erased from the map of Europe. Yet the spirit of Prussia influenced German culture and politics, re-emerging as a potent force in the 21st century. Gran Colombia, a short-lived but ambitious republic that encompassed much of northern South America, was the brainchild of Simon Bolivar, a visionary leader who dreamed of a united and independent Latin America. However, plagued by internal divisions and regional rivalries, Gran Colombia fractured in 1830, giving way to the independent nations of Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, and Panama. Despite its short lifespan, Gran Colombia left an indelible mark on the region's history and identity. In 2025, amidst a backdrop of political instability and economic hardship, a movement for the reunification of Gran Colombia began to take shape. Fueled by a sense of shared history and a desire for greater economic and political integration, the movement gained support from a diverse coalition of political leaders, intellectuals, and ordinary citizens. The spirit of Bolivar lives on, declared Colombian President Gustavo Petro, a vocal proponent of reunification. The movement faced significant challenges, but the dream of Gran Colombia, once shattered, was rekindled, offering hope for a more united and prosperous future. Nestled in the Himalayas bordered by India, Nepal, and Tibet, lies the kingdom of Sikkim. Sikkim was annexed by India in 1975, becoming its 22nd state. In 2025, rising India-China tensions questioned Sikkim's status. China asserted historical claims over Sikkim. India responded with military reinforcements. Tensions escalated with military posturing. Diplomatic maneuvers led to Sikkim's cession to China. The absorption of Sikkim into China raised international concerns. The United Arab Republic, a union between Egypt and Syria, burned bright but briefly from 1958 to 1961. It represented a beacon of hope for pan-Arabism, advocating for the unification of Arab states. However, internal divisions led to its dissolution, leaving behind unfulfilled dreams. In 2025, the idea resurfaced, now including Jordan, Lebanon, and Iraq. A new generation of leaders inspired by their forefathers drove this resurgence. The proposed union was met with hope and skepticism. Supporters argued it could achieve economic prosperity, political stability, and security. The dream of a united Arab world was once again alive, offering hope. So, there you have it. 10 countries that vanished in 2025, 10 stories of political intrigue, social upheaval, and the enduring power of national identity. These stories, while fictional, serve as a stark reminder of the ever-changing nature of our world. They challenge us to question our assumptions about borders, nations, and the very idea of a country. What does it mean for a country to exist? And what happens when it ceases to be? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more intriguing content.